He is the former #1 contender in the UFC lightweight division. Last time we saw him in action was in September in Abu Dhabi against Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the good guys in our sport. The pride of Lafayette, Louisiana, Dustin Poirier joining us right now. Dustin, how are you?
Good. What's going on, man?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for joining us. Surely you're very excited for Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, right?
Oh yeah, man. I'm excited about this fight. This is one I've been looking forward to for a while. The rematch.
Do you have a prediction or who you want to win?
I'm rocking with Fury, man. I think we'll see how the new coach affects his fight, but he's got George in his corner. He seems really focused. I like his mindset, and a lot of people thought he won the first one.
That's right. Very great fight, a draw, all that stuff and more. So I'm looking forward to it as well. Yeah, the coach aspect is very interesting. Spoke to him about that last month. Ben Davison no longer with him. So much to dissect as far as that fight is concerned. But let's talk about you. So you were supposed to compete this weekend in Miami against Garry Tonon in a grappling match, and now no more. What happened?
Yeah, everything was right on track. We were supposed to have a grappling match this Friday, but he got a bad cut over his eye. They told me it required a bunch of stitches, and he has a fight coming up as well, I think, in ONE FC. So he had to withdraw from the bout. But it's all good, man. Me and the good fight are still going to buy the car seats for the mothers, and life goes on.
Okay, so for those that don't know, this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about and why I love this fight. Of course, every time you compete, you are using your platform to do good for your Good Fight Foundation. You were one of my mentions of last year, so good on you and your wife for continuing to do that. This time it was to try and get car seats for families that can't afford them.
Yeah, my wife was in talks with this hospital. We were doing some other things with the charity with them, and they brought to our attention that 6 to 8 times a year, they have young mothers that financially can't even afford car seats. And we didn't even know that was a problem going on. You don't think of things like that. And we decided to buy them car seats for a year, and whenever the grappling match came around, I saw it as a great opportunity to announce this goal and try to use this to raise money for that. But we don't only do things when I compete. We do things in between fights and in between competitions, but obviously whenever I compete, I have way more media and I can really announce big things.
Yeah, it gets amplified a little more. So that is a distinction worth noting for sure. So the match is off, and that means you're not competing this weekend against a replacement?
Nah, I decided to just focus on MMA, and they offered me some replacements. But I was excited for Garry Tonon. Obviously, I know who he is and the challenge it was going to be, and I was excited for it. But with a couple days away, them asking me to grapple against somebody else, me and the good fight were going to make the goal happen regardless. I just feel like I don't have to.
Right. I got to give you props. I mean, because you're such a name in the MMA world, and Tonon not quite yet. He's becoming a name, but obviously very well known in the world of grappling. To sort of like put your reputation at stake and go in there against a guy who's a legend in many people's eyes. You don't see a lot of people do that. Usually when you do the grappling matches, maybe you try to find someone who's at your level. Why did you think that this was something worth doing, going up against Garry Tonon?
Ariel, I'm honest with myself. I got submitted in my last fight, and I want to sharpen up my grappling. We made that a focus, and what better way than to try to get better at it with a competition against one of the best in the world. And I really wanted to work on my leg lock game, and this was a big motivation. It was just to develop myself as a fighter and compete in grappling. I thought was a great challenge.
Amazing. Yeah, I would have loved to see that. Unfortunate, but can totally understand why you don't want to go up against a replacement. So the last time we saw you was in September. Why? And as of right now, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have your next fight. So that's 5 months ago. Why does it seem like it's been a really long time since you've competed, or at least been in talks to compete?
I'm not sure. Maybe I was active or had a couple fights back to back, but maybe that's why. But they haven't even offered me a fight yet, so I don't know what's going on.
All right, so if you had your druthers, perfect world for Dustin Poirier, who, when, where?
Obviously I was trying to get the Nate fight for a while, but we've recently decided to just leave that alone. He's not fighting. I'd love to fight just fights that are exciting, whoever that is. Whenever they call me with the name, when it's the one, I'll know. But I just want to be excited to go in there and fight, man.
And would that be at 155? Because I've seen you flirt with the 170 idea. Do you like 155? Is this your home?
I'm probably better fit for 155, but I wouldn't mind fighting at 170 if the opportunity was a fun one or a big one, for sure.
Now, I have seen the tweets about Nate. Why are you saying you're leaving that alone now? Why are you walking away from that?
Because I had spoke with Mick and Sean when I was out in Houston for the fights, and they told me they offered him the fight. And recently I spoke again to Sean, and he said it's just time to move on. Diaz camp isn't responding, isn't getting back. It was radio silence on their end. I know they offered me and another opponent to Nate, and I guess he didn't accept either. So I don't want to keep chasing that guy. We were supposed to fight a while back, and then he was talking a little bit of trash. So that was the reason I wanted to go out there and beat him up. But now that that's getting further removed and he's not taking fights, I got to move on.
So it seems like he thinks like he got the victory over you because of the fact that the last fight pulled through, and has insinuated that you were the one who pulled out in the end. And it got a little murky there towards the end of that fight being made at Madison Square Garden 2 Novembers ago. Could you tell us once and for all your side of the story? Did you pull out due to the injury, or did you pull out because he was out of the fight? What exactly happened there?
Ariel, we've spoke about this so many times.
I know but it keeps coming up.
You know the deal. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but yeah, I pulled out. I was injured, but I was going to fight. The fight had already fell apart. It wasn't happening. I was kind of like the fall guy in the media. I had to take the fall. They started offering me replacements, but the fight had already fell apart, and that's when they offered me replacements. I was like, you know what? I'm out. I got to get my hip taken care of.
Right, but you didn't. But you would have fought if it stayed Nate, right? If it was just the Nate fight.
100%.
Okay, so because I just want to make it clear, because you just said you pulled out, but you pulled out once that fight was dead, according to you.
Yeah, well, the fight was dead, and they started offering replacements, trying to keep me on the card, and it just didn't make sense at that point for me.
Right, and to the best of your knowledge, why did it die?
I think Nate was over negotiating. The UFC was upset with him, and I don't know exactly the whole story, but we had a couple opportunities to be the main event of that. That night in New York, he over negotiated. They bumped us to co-main, and it was some contractual stuff with him.
Right, and I've seen the insinuation thrown out that they paid you to pull out of the fight. Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, not at all. I wish it would have been that way. I'd have had a little bit more money in the account, right?
Would it bother you if, when your career is all said and done, you don't get this fight?
I've said in the past, Nate's a guy who, when I was a young fighter, I looked up to, just because I'm still a fan of the guy. When he fights, I'm going to watch. But when it's all said and done, I'm not going to look back and say, damn, I wish I would have fought Nate. It's cool if I do. If not, I've had some good ones.
Now, what about the Conor fight? You've talked openly about wanting that rematch. Any chance of that happening?
With the Conor fight, I just feel like if we're respecting the rankings and the guy's climbing his way back to the top, if you're number 3 or 4, you should fight the next guy available. And that's me. I would love to run that one back. I think it makes a lot of sense, but that hasn't even been brought up.
It feels like it's wide open right now as far as his next fight. Maybe Gaethje, maybe Nate, maybe you. Like, are you actively campaigning? Are you trying to get this done, or your management trying to get this done? Telling the UFC, I know you've tweeted about it, but behind the scenes, any talks of this?
I mean, they definitely know I'm open to it. We've been open to the UFC and to the public and the fans since the jump. I'll fight the guy whenever they want to do it, at whatever weight.
And by the way, I got to give you props on your Twitter game these days. Like, it's a very self-deprecating, very open. Like, you go back and forth with the fans. You're not afraid to take shots at yourself, or at least to when someone takes a shot at you, you almost disarm them by saying something about yourself. I mean, I don't know what it is or how to properly describe it to someone, but it's a lot different than the last few years. What has changed in you? Why have you gone this route?
I'm just having fun, Obviously, guys who are going to talk trash about fighting and stuff. My life is broadcast on pay-per-view and on live TV in these fights. So you're talking about something that's everybody's watching. We know what happened in the fight, or so it's just fun, man. These guys it's like shooting fish in a barrel. These guys just set themselves up for these big shots for me to make fun of them back. But I'm comfortable with myself, so I can talk and make jokes about myself as well. I know who I am.
Does that come with just getting a little more mature, evolving as a human being, as a fighter as well? Perhaps in your early days, you couldn't do that?
Yeah, I was too critical of myself. If somebody said something, I would overthink it and start thinking that maybe they know, is it true what these, when you're a young kid growing up in the sport and a lot of people are talking, you don't really know. But over the years, I realized I don't really care. And I know who, like I said, I know who I am and I know what kind of fighter I am and I know how to learn and bounce back. I'm Mr. Bounce Back.
And what about this clip that emerged? I don't know where it came from recently, but I saw a tweet and you retweeted it as well of this young boy coming up to you in the cage after the Khabib fight and asking you, where does it hurt? And you pointed to your heart. Who was that kid?
What's crazy about that is I forgot about that moment until I saw the clip. I don't know where the clip came from. I just retweeted it. But after I watched it, I specifically remember it happening in the, when you fight, there's certain moments that really stick out to you and you remember vividly. And I definitely remember after I lost this kid coming up to me, and I remember that moment. And I'm not sure who he was. I think maybe he was one of the royal family's kids, or he was up front. So he was part of some big family up there.
Wow. Yeah, that is amazing. If anyone wants to see that, I suggest you do go on Dustin's Twitter page, just scroll down a little bit and you'll see this interaction. It's tremendous stuff. And so I'm wondering, have you watched that fight recently? Do you put yourself through that, or does it hurt too much? Like, until you fight again, do you not want to watch it?
No, I watch it. I haven't watched it in a month or so, but after the fight, of course, I watched it a few times and relived it a little bit.
Who do you think wins, him or Ferguson?
I think Khabib beats Ferguson, man.
You say that rather confidently.
It's MMA. Anything could happen. Nothing's for sure. But I just think he's going to be the better competitor. I think if Kevin Lee was able to out wrestle Tony, and I think Danny Castillo did the same thing, Khabib's definitely going to be able to do it.
Do you see anyone at 155 right now who hasn't fought Khabib who can give him a tough fight?
Off the top of my head right now, I think Justin Gaethje. I think he might have the ability to keep his back off the fence and keep it in the middle. And if he does get taken down, scramble back up. I think guys like that who are going to take risks and brawl and have the hips and the wrestling knowledge to stay up would give him problems.
And by the way, are you in Florida right now?
Yeah, I'm in Florida.
So are you going to stay there until you get another fight, or are you going to go back home until you get the fight? What are you going to do?
I'm not sure, man. That's a good question because right now I'm getting antsy. I've been here about 6 weeks. I came here whenever I got cleared from my hip surgery. I just wanted to be back on the mats and back working but every week that goes by and I don't hear anything about a fight, it's making me want to go back to Louisiana.
Is your family there with you, or are they back home in Lafayette?
They were here with me for 4 weeks or 5 weeks. My wife just went back to have a meeting with the hospital we're working with and also to, just tie up some other stuff. But they're coming back here Thursday this week.
Okay, because I was wondering, I mean, that's a long time to be away when you don't have a fight, because you could probably go a little stir crazy. So just curious, because I've seen the photos of you and Jorge at the gym. Any signs of Colby at ATT?
That guy. Hey, I'm not going to talk about him and give him any light. I'll just tell you that me and Dan Lambert actually this past Saturday sat down and had a meeting, and we're keeping everything business right now.
Okay. He asked for the meeting, or you asked for it?
He asked for it.
Okay. And did he ask you to keep it business, to not do anything?
Yeah, well, of course he doesn't want to fight in his gym. He just wanted to kind of pick my brain and see where I was, and also give me his thoughts on just the whole situation.
Okay. Are you worried about, if you saw him at the gym, that something would happen?
I'm not worried about nothing, Ariel.
No, I mean that you would be compelled to do something about it. Not that it would happen to you, that you would be compelled to do something.
I'm a grown man, a father, a professional, and I'm going to try to be that.
Okay. But you haven't seen him yet, right?
I actually saw him the other day. That's why we had to have a meeting. I don't want to get into it.
Okay. Fair enough. I understand that. All right. That's interesting stuff. I'd love to ask a follow-up, but I won't ask a follow-up because you told me you don't want to get into it.
No.
Okay. So right now, perfect world, you'd like to come back perhaps spring or so, but we don't know against who.
Yeah, I was thinking April. Obviously, that's, looking like it might be May. I just want to call with a name that gets me excited. I've been training. I'm in the gym. I'm in shape right now. I'm having fun. I just want to be excited for the matchup. So we'll see what that is.
And I know I asked you about Nate. I know I asked you about Conor. We didn't speak about anyone else specifically. Is there a name other than those two that does get you excited?
The thing is, like looking down the list, not really. But
Right.
when they call me with an actual fight, maybe that'll change.
Okay. But there's no one that really like jumps out at you, right? That's problematic.
Yeah, I know, and I know I'm like not at that point. I'm not Connor. I don't sit back and say, "Hey, this is who I'm fighting," and I'm not better than any one of these guys. These guys are all tough, but at this point in my career, in my life, I just want to be excited about the fight, and I want there to be more on the line than just a fight. It's just another fight, so that's where I'm at.
Okay. Well, let's see what they come up with. Appreciate the time as always, Dustin, and keep up the great work, you and your wife, with the Good Fight Foundation. I'm sorry that the match isn't going down this Saturday. I was really looking forward to that, but good on you for keeping up that pledge to get all those car seats. I know how important that is, especially as a new father. You're very nervous that first day when you put your baby in the car leaving the hospital. So that's a great cause. I love that. So and the website is, for those that don't know, is at goodfightfoundation.org.
It's the goodfightgroup.com.
Goodfightgroup.com. All right, there it is. Thanks as always, Dustin. I appreciate it. Good luck getting that fight.
Thank you, brother.
Hello, everyone. It's Ariel Helwani. I just came here to thank you for watching our ESPN YouTube channel. It's the best. You know what else is the best? The ESPN app. You can get highlights, analysis, all that stuff and more. And if you want premium content and live streaming sports, there's only one place for all of that. It's ESPN Plus.